really have identified a unmet need, a problem. Call it the white space. The people doing this, people doing that, nobody's doing this. So if you can identify that, that's the first thing you have to answer. Then the question is, why aren't they doing this? Is it illegal? Technically impossible? What? So the fact that you have the way to overcome the white space, which is not being served, that's check number one. Do that. Check number two is,
पहले इसको दोबारा से स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा वीडियो को शुरू से.
Who else is doing it?
So Azam, please rewind the video and start from the beginning. अभी गया live.
Oh, so if I just go back, will that be okay?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So I think everybody else is mute then?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start again.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Azam Arastu from California. I'm the chief organizer and the chief architect of the National Ideas Bank program. This session that we are recording is really designed to provide ideas of how to make a very good presentation and make a winning presentation. All the entrepreneurs who have been participating in the NIB program, as we know, we've got more than 2,000 ideas in the system. And the next major activity for the ideas is to go and make a presentation. Presentation is key to this whole activity. You can really make or break your whole idea by the way you present it. And presentation technique is very, very important. And today we are very fortunate to have Mr. Naeem Zafar, who has been doing this for a number of years. He's a very big entrepreneur himself, and he's in Silicon Valley, California. So we're fortunate that he is in the system. He is here, and we will talk to him about how to really make a very good presentation. The idea is there are 2,000 ideas in the system, and you have to come up so that you should be picked up as the winning presentation. So what are the key elements that needs to go to that you can convince the judges they should pick you amongst all the others in the system? So we will talk about this, and hopefully this will help you in coming presentations that will be scheduled for between November 22nd and November 27th. So the session title is really how to pitch a winning idea. So let me start by asking Mr. Naeem Zafar to introduce himself, and then we'll go into a conversation with him as to how to go about various things.
Thank you, Azam, and good to be with you guys. And hopefully we'll have an interesting discussion about how to pitch your idea effectively with an impact. Now, hopefully you have already watched a video I recorded on how to present. So assuming you haven't watched it, pause this one, go watch that, then come back to this, because we're gonna build on that foundation. So Azam, how should we tee this up?
So you're absolutely right. I highly recommend that each one of you first go and watch Mr. Zafar's video on how to pitch a winning idea. And then I watched it with great interest yesterday. And what I'd like to do is to, as Mr. Zafar says, build upon that and say, and ask questions to see how, and discuss various elements of the presentation that he talked about. So he talked about, Mr. Zafar, you talked about in
आजम साहब आपकी शेयरिंग जो है वो बंद हो गई है, कैन यू प्लीज शेयर? जी आजम साहब, आपको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है?
Serving it well, and you have a way to serve it well, then the third question is, does it make financial sense to do it? Otherwise known as unit economics. What's the cost? What's the people are willing to pay for it? How will you find people?
You went into great amount of detail on unit economics, which was very interesting session.
You know, this basic concept, अगर unit economics माकूल है, okay, check, तीन check हो गए. Then fourth check is, who do you need? What expertise do you need? What kind of people? How long would it take? So if you can articulate those four things in a cogent 5-minute presentation, which you should be able to, then you have a winning idea. See, so there are two things. This for content, this is the content part. We'll talk about delivery part in a few minutes, but let's get the content right. It's not complicated. चार चीजें हैं यार, चार चीजें भी नहीं कर सकते.
बिल्कुल सही है. So content is the most important part. So content में ये चीज है कि you have to have very clear idea exactly what you are trying to do, what the unmet need is, which white space you're figuring out, आपकी unit economics क्या है, और you know what and how you're going to get this and how you come to market or bring the whole thing. That's उसकी clarity नहीं आई तो then you cannot proceed. I agree with you. A lot of questions that come up with most of the entrepreneurs, हमारे पास youngsters हैं universities में, and they are live, for example, in remote village in Pakistan. They don't have the vision कि इस चीज से मेरा जो idea है वो कितना change कर सकता है. तो उस चीज में हम किस तरह evaluate करें कि किस हम market assessment जो होता है. You also talked about in your presentation about what kind of market, what's the total market, and what's your addressable market. And you need to have a very clear idea. It's very difficult to gauge that.
It is difficult to gauge that, but not as difficult if you're willing to make simplifying assumption. अब देखें ना, start करते हैं भाई, अगर हर बंदा इसको लेने को तैयार हो, जो लेने के काबिल है, खरीदे, एक साल में कितने पैसे वो सरफ होंगे तो आपके. तो उसकी एग्जांपल भी आप दे सकते हैं जी. आप देखें जी, मार्केट साइज आपने एस्टिमेट करना है, तो इट कुड बी डन. गिव मी एनीथिंग, आई विल गिव यू मार्केट साइज. आपके जी पाकिस्तान में केलों की कितनी मार्केट साइज है? पाकिस्तान कितने लोग हैं जी? अच्छा जी 22 करोड़. कितने लोग केले नहीं खाते? चलो जी कोई 80% तो खा लेते हैं. चलो ठीक है, 80% 22 करोड़ कर लें आप, 17-18 करोड़ हो गए. अच्छा, आप केले की प्राइस कितनी है? ₹1 है, तो 100 रुपए दर्जन है, तो एक कितना हुआ? तो एक कितने केले खाते हैं? हफ्ते में 1 दफा, हफ्ते में 10 दफा, हफ्ते में 2 केले. आप मल्टीप्लाई कर दें, 50 हफ्ते हैं, 55, 52 केले के कितने पैसे हैं? You can multiply the three numbers, you get a market size. Is it accurate? I don't know if it's precisely accurate. Is it reasonable? Is it reasonable? You make some reasonable assumption and you can have a reasonable answer. Nobody expects you to have precise कि जी ये 2 करोड़ चार इतने लोग के मार्क्स आए तो अंदाजा तो हो जाए ना. So this is the difference between an entrepreneur and normal people. Entrepreneurs make quick, simplifying assumptions and have an answer. Then they can fine tune them later when they have more data. No big deal.
So I totally agree with you, and so that's where. But I notice a lot of young entrepreneurs have this question. They cannot. They fall apart in actually making the assessment, the market assessment, the business model, because they they have difficulty in making those assumptions.
Yeah, exactly.
The advice that you are having is very important. Okay, make it simple and write it down. So, and if you can always change your assumptions and see what your margins are. Change how things vary between that. But you can always start with simplifying assumptions because that's the only way things work. Right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
अच्छा, so और आपने एक बड़ी अच्छी बात बताई थी अपनी in your presentation. Plus, you also have another whole pitch on business model.
Financial model.
Financial model. Financial model is, of course, the key of any idea of how idea to have. But what we want to do is to move from idea into a product, into a business. Product/service into a business. ये जो journey है, ये journey में कई steps हैं और business model and financial model is the key step to make sure that from the seed you can get a plant or it's a viable plant, it's a feasible plant. इसमें भी हमारे पास many of the students have difficulty in putting extrapolating from that idea कि किस तरह बने. तो इसमें भी आप can you just share some of the key points on the business model that you have a whole presentation
on? Financial model was a different presentation. Let's focus on business model. You're correct. Yeah, business model is a fancy word. भाई इसको कैसे बेचेंगे? ठीक है ना, आप कुछ चीजें हैं वो आप लोग अब देखें ना, पीटीवी देखें, पीटीवी ये है या हम टीवी है, वो बेचते हैं नहीं, वो एडवर्टाइजमेंट से पैसे, उनका बिजनेस मॉडल है एडवर्टाइजिंग. आप और कुछ चीजें खरीदते हैं, आप किराने वाला, who is selling some stuff. नेटफ्लिक्स का क्या मॉडल है? वो सब्सक्रिप्शन है. So that
a way of monetizing.
Monetizing basically. So basically the concept है कि भाई आपको सोचना ये है, भाई मेरा कॉस्ट कितनी है, कितने का बिक सकता है, कहाँ कैसे बेचूंगा, उसमें प्रॉफिट कैसा है, इसका है, more profitable it is, more attractive it is to investors. What's my customer acquisition cost? तो ये 3-4 चीजें आपको जरा सोचना पड़ता है कि भाई कस्टमर एक्विजिशन क्या का मतलब. देखिए आपने कुछ लोगों को, छोटों को हायर करना है, वो जाके घर जाके बेचेंगे. अच्छा, तो एक छोटा है, उसको कितनी तनख्वाह लेता है, एक महीने में कितने वो नए ग्राहक ला देगा. आप उसको डिवाइड करना है, आपका कस्टमर एक्विजिशन कॉस्ट आ गई. आपने एडवर्टाइज करना है न्यूज़पेपर में, भाई इतने का 70,000 का इश्तेहार है, मेरे आमतौर पर इश्तेहार देता हूँ तो 40 लोग आ जाते हैं, आपका कस्टमर एक्विजिशन कॉस्ट आ गई. ये कॉन्सेप्ट, हाँ,
कितनी कॉस्ट आती है. सो दैट्स
दिस सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट मेरा कि पैसे बन भी रहे हैं कि नहीं. अगर मैं उसको बनाता हूँ 1,000 रुपए का और 5,000 का बेच सकता हूँ, मेरी कस्टमर एक्विजिशन का अब 4,000 मेरे पास लगे हैं, 4,000 में कंपनी भी चलानी है, खर्चे भी देने हैं, कस्टमर एक्विजिशन का भी करनी है, तो ये सब एडअप कर लो. तो दिस इज व्हाट पीपल डोंट डू. अदर मिस्टेक पीपल कांट मेक इज दे ऑलवेज ट्राई टू स्टार्ट अ कंपनी कि जी हम तो सबसे सस्ता करेंगे. सबसे सस्ता is not a sustainable model for a startup company. Or free. The thing is, if people are not willing to pay for it, maybe it's not such a good idea. अगर आपके पास जब people को दर्द हो रही होती है कोई जिस्म में, तो आप जो भी ले ले, दांत की दर्द हो रही है, आप जो पैसे लेने लगे 10 को ठीक कर दो. तो we want to find कि दांत की दर्द हो कि ये आपको ये विटामिन की जरूरत है. विटामिन को लेते हैं तो नहीं लेते हैं, दांत की दर्द तो भागे जाते हैं.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. और ये इसमें हमारे कई बच्चों को तकलीफ वो होती है, मुश्किल होती है कि हाउ डू यू क्लियरली स्पेसिफाई दैट. एंड अच्छा, एक और एक चीज है, आपने कई, ऑफ कोर्स वी प्रेजेंटेड आइडियाज, इनोवेटिव आइडियाज एंड पिच टू वेरियस इन्वेस्टर्स एंड आस्क फॉर मनी. 2 क्वेश्चंस है, हाउ मच मनी टू आस्क एंड what kind of questions you get from those judges or investors that we should be getting ready, or हमारे जो students हैं, हमारे जो entrepreneurs should be ready for.
So I don't know, हमारे entrepreneur अभी investors को pitch कर रहे हैं कि अभी नहीं वहाँ तैयार नहीं है उनके लिए.
अभी investors को pitch नहीं कर रहे हैं, but obviously that will be the next step.
Yeah, next step होगा.
pitch कर रहे हैं, अभी हमारे judges को pitch करेंगे. Once they win, they will go to this.
So let's talk about both of them separately because slightly different answer. अगर judges को आप pitch कर रहे हो, most important thing is to tell a story about why does the world need this thing? What's missing? So don't start by my name is Abdul Rahman. मैं हैदराबाद से आया हूँ. मैंने 4 साल ये पढ़ा है. Yeah, nobody cares right now. Yeah, start with what did you see? There was a problem. Exactly. So can you मुश्किल लोगों को हो रही है, लोग ऑर्डर करते हैं, उनको मंगाना होता है, कोई आके घर में कोई रिपेयर करने का बंदा है, किसको कॉल करें? टैक्सी लेके जाएं, रिक्शा लेके जाएं, पानी लीक हो रहा है. तो हमने चेक किया है, यानी कि हजारों लोगों के पास ये प्रॉब्लम होती है. तो वी वांट टू क्रिएट ए सर्विस. आप हमें कॉल करें या करें, हम आपको बंदा भेजेंगे, ये है वो है. So you're starting by use case. What is the use case? What's the problem? How did you see it? How did you start to solve it? And how did you prove it कि भाई वाकई ये चल रहा है?
किस पेन को आप एड्रेस कर रहे हैं? Which pain are you addressing, right?
This is how you want to tell what I call not inside looking out, but outside looking in. कि how do other people see it? And yeah.
किस कस्टमर की किस पेन पॉइंट को आप एड्रेस
कर रहे हैं, उनकी बल्कि एग्जाम्पल दें, उनकी मिसाल दें. So आपको you don't have to start with who you are. We will care about it later once we hooked about the idea. So this is art of storytelling. जब स्टोरी करते हैं ना, story starts with something people can imagine. हाँ यार ये बात तो सही है, अगर ऐसे होता तो बहुत अच्छा होता. So you want them to imagine that. So this is how you tell the story, even to investors.
तो कौन से टेक्निक इस्तेमाल करते हैं जो कि की पॉइंट्स दिमाग में स्टिक करें?
I think you imagine your service now exists or product exists. Imagine for a few minutes. If it exists, who would use it? How would they use it? How will it change their life? Tell that story. Say, we did this and now we have figured out how to do this. We already proven it in Hyderabad. Now we're going to take it to Karachi and Lahore. So idea is your job is to make investors' imagination come alive. और कस्टमर्स और जजेस इमेजिनेशन में देखा, हाँ यार ये तो हो सकता है, ये बात तो सही है, अगर ऐसे होता. So once now they're emotionally involved with it, they want to see this happen. Now they want to make you successful.
The keyword you use to get them emotionally involved.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They feel part. Yes, it is. उनको excite करें.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is the key point which you talked about earlier. Let's repeat that you want to tell a story. You want to say, we saw a problem. Because of our unique background, we figured out, यार ये ऐसे भी हो सकता है. Then we double check कि भाई काफी लोगों की जरूरत है, market size. Then we figured out if we did a product like this, ये तो profitable भी हो सकती है, unit economics and business model. Then we figured out कि भाई 4-5 लोग हम इकट्ठे हो गए, इसको करेंगे, ये team assembly. अब अगर आप इतने पैसे मिल जाएं, तो within इतने महीनों में हम ये कर सकते हैं. This is your timeline. She's telling that story. It's all MBA terms इस्तेमाल हो रही हैं. But you're telling a simple story. That's what you have to tell.
बिल्कुल. और ये चीज applicable to anything, चाहे आप biomedical में जाएं, e-commerce में जाएं, या software product or agriculture project, किसी चीज में भी, what we are talking about are general things applicable to whatever projects, whichever sector you come in.
Right? Yeah, exactly right. So I think this is the stuff which could be very exciting. But I think my advice for the people which are going to present to judges is you have to practice. You think, and knowing Pakistani young people, they're going to wing it. यार हो जाएगा, फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. नहीं,
वो कभी नहीं होता.
नहीं होता. Even I have given tens of thousands of presentation. Even with tight presentation, I practice. I record myself. I watch myself. Because there's a time constraint. Are you telling a good story? Are you engaging? So you have to record. You have to listen to yourself. You see how to improve. 5-minute page, 6-minute page is hard to do. You have to be really.
People think 5 minutes आसान है, लेकिन actually condense everything in 5 minutes is actually not easy. It's easier to do. 15 minutes or 20 minutes is easier. 5 minutes is tough. And most presentations, especially इस टाइप के presentations, are 5 minutes by design, ताकि आपको force करें to be very clear in your thinking, very precisely आप कहें कि क्या चीज कर रहे हैं, without going into a lot of fluff. So you're right. This is how it's done most time. In fact, there is one thing called elevator speech, which is even smaller than 5 minutes, which is only 2 minutes or maybe 1 minute, which is
even less than that. See, when I teach, I talk about there's a 10-second version and there's a 30-second version. So let me give you an example of my current company. This is my 10-second version. अनाज एक दफा आपने उसको हार्वेस्ट कर लिया, it never improves in quality. कीड़ा लग जाता है, खराब होता है. What if you can figure out कि भाई कीड़ा कब लगने वाला है, खराब कब होने वाला है, ताकि उसके तो आप बेचना है, अभी करना है, इस्तेमाल करना है, कर सकते हैं. We have solved that problem.
Yes, that's it. End of story.
I didn't tell how I did it, but I pointed. अब समझा क्या यार ये तो अच्छा ये कैसे हो सकता है, बताओ मुझे.
Now
Then
you create the curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
अच्छा आप questions कर रहे हैं, अच्छा बताओ क्या. That is the trick, right?
That's the trick. Then 30-second version होगा, longer version. I'll say यार अनाज. What if you can use wireless sensors and you get the data wirelessly, automatically, continuously? तो कभी जब खराब होना शुरू हुए, we use artificial intelligence software to detect and eventually predict. So you have आपने यहाँ 500 बोरियां रखी हुई हैं, कौन सी 30 बोरियां पहले बेचनी है? That's what we do. So now this is a 30-second version. It has a little bit more technology into it.
But
still
always keep exciting the person. ताकि अब उनको बोल रहे हैं कि ask more questions, because so you create that hunger.
Engaging, yeah, exactly. You're engaging. Just like in a good conversation, you story to good teller. They tell a little story. You're leaning in. Tell me more. What happened?
Right. So that is absolutely key. That is the key of a great presentation, right? Yeah. You leave you answer all the questions to enough to that you have to keep answering more questions. That means they're engaged. They fully understand. They can only ask questions if they understand what you're talking about, and they're curious. Curiosity को आप हमेशा रखना है. The curiosity उनको आप maximum पे रखें by leading questions, and then it's not only the content, it's the way you deliver. So let's move on to delivery for now, and then we can weave in the content also in the meantime. Delivery is also an equally
very important
part.
Yeah, actually, this will be surprise people. The most important thing you can learn about delivering as presentation is the power of the pause. I'm exaggerating right now, but when you stop speaking, you're like, yeah, kya keh raha? Uth gaye?
Itna powerful cheez hai. People don't realize it's really
the most powerful thing in presentation.
At the right time. And
the right time.
At the right duration.
If you continue to speak without you get bored, you get tuned out.
And tone control, right? Volume control. Take the monotone layers done actually modulate your tone. It should be exciting, it should be energetic, it should be
so using a pause strategically really makes you a more impactful speaker. People will pay more attention, they'll listen to you. Yeah.
So that's voice, that's mostly voice control and so on. Then और एक चीज है कि confidence. How do you project that you are absolutely confident? First of all, you know the material. You know आपकी जो knowledge है material की, that is presented in your charts. But I've seen a lot of people, the worst thing they do is they look at the charts and read it. That is one thing which absolutely turns me off.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's rude because they are turning away from me, from the audience.
आपने बिल्कुल सही बात की है, because you see, people should know what's on the slide. And you're not reading the words. I can read the words faster than you can read them to me. Right. Your job is to tell a story, and the data on the slide is substantiating.
Subliminally, उनको आप वो कर रहे हैं, reinforce कर रहे हैं.
So you can say, for example, I'll give lots of charts by market size. I'm not going to say the market size. Say, as you can see, it's a large and growing market. And the reason we want to enter that is we're going to start with just in the northern areas first, then we slowly come down. Chart में detail है उसकी knowledge में ये है, but I'm not reading the chart. I ask myself a question. For every slide, I ask myself, what don't they believe that after seeing the slide, going,
now I understand what's the
that should be the title of the slide. Those are the words coming out of my mouth. Slide is just substantiating what I'm saying. तो ये practice से होता है उस्ताद.
बिल्कुल सही. Title की बात की थी, there's also some term called this is the horse chart. there's a picture of a horse. There's no point putting a title saying this is a horse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The title should say a lot more.
More than just as a.
than
So yeah,
just
exactly.
the picture.
Yeah, बिल्कुल सही बात है. But again, market size. Title is it's a large and growing market approaching, 10 lakh, 10 crore rupees. Yeah, that's the message. That should be the title. Yeah.
Don't say this is market analysis or this is market size chart. No.
What is it telling you? What should I learn? What should be my takeaway? Exactly. That should be the title of the slide.
So with title, let's talk more about the title because title, if having a clear title, sometimes a question is a very good title. I use that a lot. I'm asked, basically I'm you put a question that you're trying to answer on this.
Answer, yeah. So they say they're engaged with, isko bataya.
So the title selection, say people have to make sure that they spend time and think through. Don't put this is a horse type title because it really is off-putting. It doesn't add any value. Every word, every picture must add value
Counts.
to your story. Strategic value. फिर और एक चीज देखते हैं कि लोग या बड़े वहां पर देखते हैं they come on a lectern or stand like a big lecture, which again is off-putting because people don't want to hear lecture. How do you make it more conversational? Which has to be conversational, interactive, and you solicit feedback from your audience by proper eye contact and moving your eyes to different people so you don't lock into only one person.
Yeah. People do that by they're uncomfortable. They only look at one person, and you gotta, you're not looking at any one person, you're looking at everybody. But this, this comes with comfort when you're comfortable speaking. You and I have done a lot of years of speaking, so we have a different approach. But I see this 22 years old.
Which is very powerful is smiling.
Yeah, exactly. That you're absolutely right.
Especially when you're talking into some technical things, people become too serious. And
smile actually erases many negatives and doubts. Just smiling. Yeah, shows confidence too, because when you're smiling, you're comfortable with yourself.
So I think it's good to even start off with maybe just loosen yourself up.
Yeah.
Coming out in front of a big audience or any lecture, loosen yourself up by making something light and then brings your smile on your face and make sure you're conscious that you're always smiling.
Yeah. One more point, I think, which is maybe the last point we want to touch on, what I call slide 0.
Yes.
The very first title slide, which has nothing more data to distract me, people just jump through the slide like right away. Yeah. Just they think that's like just to bypass it. To me, that's the most important slide. I need to open the right compartment of your brain where my words are going to go in. So you never rush to the slide 0. Because you're going to say, we are a software company. We have been operational for 2 years, and we are solving the problem of connecting pharmacy. Aapne ghar mein bulani hai dawaiyan. This is what the problem we are solving. Let me tell you, why are we here? Okay, so you've told me.
The slide also gives credibility to the whole pitch because you are now showing why the hell you should listen to me. Who am I?
Exactly.
Do I bring to the table?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. This is the title slide is giving you a chance to two things. Credible, why should you pay attention? And why are we here? So then, okay, if I'm engaged.
Time, at the same time, हमें और ये चीज जरूरी है कि इनको बताएं कि what do we need from you?
Yeah, that's the ask. What is your ask? आप क्या चाहते हैं?
And ask, should we state that upfront?
Yeah, I like to state that earlier. The reason is, and people controversially कहते हैं Nico, see, if I know that you're asking for $1 million, I'm going to ask different questions.
Exactly.
If you're here for some other reason, I'll ask. So it's good to say, reason we're talking here because we're trying to raise money for the company. Reason we're here, we want a partnership with you. We're going to. So this is important to state the purpose early in title slide. Yes.
Exactly. So I think that's another important area. People, I've seen a lot of presentations don't have that. So you can sit in a half an hour presentation. People say, what do you want? Why am I here?
Yeah, exactly.
So you tell them right up front, ye reason hai, and the reason we are pitching to you is because this is what I need and this is what you can offer me. So let me answer your questions and say why do I deserve to get this answer? either money
exactly.
or resources or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So it's very, I think we can keep talking about this. This is a very vast subject, but there is no substitute than keep doing it, putting it together, practicing in front of your friends and so on, and learning from others, and keep doing it over and over. And that's the only way you can improve.
I think you're
Also,
right.
being
Next step ऐसे करते हैं.
smart and also have a lot of subject matter expertise is not a person who doesn't mean to say you'll be a good presenter. Presentation is a separate art which needs to be developed and honed and practiced. And there is, no matter how good you are in life, I've seen the people who proceed and succeed are the people who are good presenters. So this is a skill one should get regardless what you're doing, whatever you are, whatever you're doing in the world, you should be a good presenter.
Okay. So ऐसे करेंगे. Why don't we have people listen to this video and see if they practice what we're teaching them? Maybe in a few days we can have a session when we hear some live presentation and you and I can give some feedback.
Exactly. I think this, I must, first of all, let me thank you, Naeem, because this was really important. And I hope, as I said, I echo your view. I hope this benefits our young entrepreneurs, and I hope they can take some lessons. This, what we are talking about, we have learned our lessons hard way. There is no book on this. There's no other material. This is by osmosis. We learn by experience, and all we're doing is trying to share our experience with others. And so with that, let's call it a day, and
we'll see you soon. Thank you. All right. You're going to stop the recording?
Yes. That's it.